Good evening once again, everyone. Hell's Unicorn here, and I just wanted to take a few minutes here to opine about the recent remarks by our president about his faith. These occurred actually yesterday, and for those of you who are wondering, this is a video by a Christian and for Christians, so if you don't have any interest in the topic, you can feel free to move along and watch something else, because this isn't really something that's really open to side debates on the merits of the religion itself, and quite frankly, I'm not interested in that at this particular time. There were 2 points that our president made when he discussed his alleged Christian faith. I say alleged Christian faith because, quite frankly, his language on the matter has been extraordinarily ambiguous and erroneous at times, and such was the case with these 2 particular points that he made. One of the points that he made was a remark about his choosing to be a Christian because of the obligation of being his brothers and sisters' keepers. Now, for anybody who has a intimate knowledge of Scripture, this language does not occur in the Gospels nor in the epistles of the New Testament following the Gospels. This is actually Old Testament language from the book of Genesis, specifically regarding the events surrounding Cain and Abel, the first 2 sons of Adam and Eve. And this language was used specifically by Cain upon being accused by God for the murder of his brother. He stated, "I am not my brother's keeper." So I find it a little bit odd that our president bases his faith on a lie and a retort by a sinful man, the first man to sin actually and commit murder against God, so to speak. That's his basis for Christian morality. Now, it makes sense given the latent Marxist tendencies of black liberation theology, which is itself an offshoot of a South American heresy that even the popes can't really tolerate in spite of their own heretical leanings. So that was the first point. My brothers and my sisters' keepers. That's pretty well communistic language, Christian communistic language. The 2 terms are kind of at odds with each other and create a really strong cognitive dissonance, but nonetheless it is what it is. Now, the second point that he made had to do specifically with the notion of, I'm trying to think here for a second, I actually forgot the second point. It had to do with the golden rule. Yeah, that's it. For me, the golden rule is kind of a double-edged sword because I have a different understanding of it than most of these twice-a-year Christians who read the Bible for occasional amusement but don't really believe much of what's in there. The golden rule states, treat others as you would like to be treated. But in actuality, according to the Bible, that is not the golden rule. It is the first half of the golden rule, actually, or the second half, actually, to be precise. The first half being love God with all your heart and to love your neighbor as you would like to be loved yourself. Now, why is the first half of this so important? Well, if you are a Bible believer, you would know that before your justification, before you are brought before God and confirmed as a predestined member of the Church of the Faithful, your nature is not in line with something that is compatible with treat others as you would want to be treated. I mean, let's face it here. How does an alcoholic do unto others as he would unto himself? He'd probably buy them a drink, and if it's one alcoholic to another, that's not necessarily a good thing. Same would go for any other addiction, be it, cocaine, crack, which I've heard our president is rumored to have dabbled in a bit in his youth, much like the last one did. But anyway, it is essential in order to have the proper standard of what your own self-worth ought to be before you can love anyone else the way you ought to be loved. Indeed, the whole concept of how one ought to be loved has in itself an objective implication, and therefore we have to seek something that's both objective and outside of ourselves for the standard by which we govern ourselves and in the ways that we treat each other. And this is a point that is missed by so many Christians today that it's not even funny. And whenever I get accused by non-theists, anti-theists, or people of other faiths that have a different take on this stuff, they always say you're not acting very Christian. Well, do you even know what that means? Have you actually read through the Bible and properly understood the entire implied doctrine that it carries? Well, if you're President Obama, apparently you haven't, because I have yet to hear him properly apply one of the lessons in the New Testament, or the Old Testament for that matter. So, for those of you out there who think you're Christians but are flirting with liberalism and continuing to flirt with our president, think again. With prudence to myself and benevolence to all of you, good evening.